You thought I thought you worked for me. Accept my public apology. Hi all. Please enjoy this reversed roles story, wherein she didn't work for me, lady. To give you context, this happened in the US, it was the middle of the afternoon, everyone in the following story is female, and names are fictional. I'm from the US, but moved overseas in 2011. When this story unfolded it was 2015 and I was on my way to visit family. A lot of things had changed in the US in that time. This is relevant to the story. I had a 2-hour layover in LA that became a 6-hour layover, so I jumped online and posted, "Do I know anyone in LA? If so, I'm at the airport." Dinner. A college acquaintance I had been to a couple parties with over a decade earlier replied, and it was very exciting to rediscover friendship on a dinner adventure. You don't get picked up from lax easily, so she instructed me to take a certain bus one stop and get off at an uncovered lot and she would meet me there. We knew that once I left the airport, I would not have any online access as all I had on me was an iPod Touch, so I was to look for a white car looking for me, broad daylight. Public area. This was fine. I got there and this seemed like a normal thing people do in that lot as others got off the bus and into cars. My friend had recently recovered from something serious, and knowing that friends who had similar experiences had gained or lost a lot of weight and even hair pigment, I wondered if she might not look like I remembered. While I waited, a white car pulled up. The woman in it didn't look like my friend, but she was looking at me like she was trying to recognize my face too. Asterisk, what are the odds of that? Asterisk, I wondered. Asterisk, our 2 decades apart reunions are happening to young women right here today. Asterisk, then she, probably more convinced I wasn't who she was looking for, offered the interaction ending question, "Are you Sarah?" "I'm not Sarah," acknowledged that, and moved away. But I was also amused and confused that LA people pick up people they don't know. Maybe friends of friends at the airport. How nice. I resumed my wait and she resumed hers until a woman went up to her car and said, "Jane." Hi, and a few preliminary confirmation words, and got in. Sorry, driver. I had no idea Uber/Lyft had become a thing while I was abroad. My friend and I laughed about my new American experience over a lovely dinner of boardwalk tacos. This one is a bit different, it's about school. This happened in my freshman year of high school, when my parents were picking my little brother up from his middle school. Background: I have growth hormone deficiency, so at the time I was short and looked like a middle schooler. The story: my parents had gone to speak with the receptionist inside her office. I was just standing at the entrance of the school on my phone. This lady, who taught there, comes up to me, doing that pissed off walk moms do, and starts yelling at me. "Lady, why aren't you in class?" Me, miss, I don't." She interrupts me. "Lady, don't talk back to me." "Lady, I'll say it again, why aren't you in class?" Me, I don't. She does it again. "Lady, that's it, who is your homeroom teacher? I'm writing you up." Me, "Miss, I don't." She interrupts me again. "Lady, who is your homeroom teacher?" At this point I was pretty angry and completely snapped. I definitely could have handled this better, but I was furious. Me, "Lady, if you would listen to me, I've tried to say I don't go to school here. I'm just waiting for my parents to pick up my little brother." She had this look of embarrassment on her face that I still laugh at today. My parents came and clarified the situation. She still was very angry, but we were running late, so we just left. I caused the situation. I've been reading these a bit obsessively, and while I haven't really had one of these moments, I actually caused one many moons ago. This is kind of a long and different idyll. At the time, I lived in the UK and moved to London after 2 years elsewhere. I wasn't familiar with the city yet, nor the modes of transportation. I already had friends that had moved there earlier. The first weekend, one of them invited me out to a nightclub in Angel, north central London, and at 1 a.m., we all headed home. Except their home was in a different direction from my home. During the day, it wasn't a problem. I could hop on the tube, the subway, because I knew my exit no matter what part of the city. But I had yet to learn how to travel the buses, and particularly the night buses. Once it gets late in London, only certain buses run at night and there are far fewer buses to catch. We didn't have apps at the time, smartphones weren't quite a thing yet. I had to call Transport for London's free service that helps you sort out where you're going and how to get there. They told me to get on the XX bus on a particular side of the street and it would eventually get me close to where I needed to be. It seemed a bit strange because the bus they were telling me to catch was headed north and I needed to head south and east, but perhaps it ran in a loop. So I boarded the bus. Well, about 7 to 8 minutes into the journey, I was getting nervous. It kept heading north, but also in a very residential area with nothing else and no one else around. Finally, I got off and started heading back south. I walked back 2 bus stops and there was a man tinkering with the ticket dispenser. I asked him how I could get to the high street, a main road, so I could get back to XX. He began explaining the route to get there, but as he looked down the empty, eerie street, he paused. He explained that he would be shortly done fixing the ticket machine and could give me a lift to the high street. So for the second time in my life, I got into a stranger's car. In fairness, he had a TFL sticker on his car, so I was rather confident he probably did work for them and wasn't just waiting for a lost stranger to come along so he could abduct her. I'm not sure why, but he had me get into the back seat of his little 2-door car. And like the first time I accepted a ride from a stranger, I had my phone in hand hidden from view with 9-1-1 ready, finger on the call button the entire time. ***, please note, if you are living in the UK or plan to go there, the emergency number is 9-9-9, not 9-1-1. However, there was no handbook that I received upon moving to the country that said as such. Also note, because of the amount of American film and television consumed in the UK, many residents are unaware of the fact that the emergency number is not 9-1-1 and should you call, it will redirect you to 9-9-9. Anyway, I am generally the friendly sort and also one of my professors in undergrad told us that she once prevented a rapist in Central Park by telling him her name, about her family, etc. The more an attacker who doesn't know you finds out about you, the more disinclined they can become. So I started chatting with the man. He told me things which I don't know how credible they are, but if they are, were fascinating. By the end of the chat, he had simply driven me right to my flat instead of dropping me off at the bus stop I needed. And after all of that, we come to the actual reason for the story. He let me out of the back seat, and as I got out and said goodnight, a bunch of drunk British kids stumbled by. One of whom thought he was a taxi and tried to get a lift. The gentleman then said, "Nah mate, I'm not a taxi," got into his car and drove off. "Thank you for lift, wherever you are." Lady mistakes me for employee and makes me come late back from break. Hey guy, I'm new here in Reddit and actually got it so I can post it here. Also I'm from Germany and English is my second language, so sorry for any mistakes. This happened to me 2 days ago when I was working in a small store. I'm a part-time employee and usually work just 6 hours a day, so I don't have a break. It was a very busy day and my team leader, I think you can call her manager, asked me to stay 2 more hours. I said yes, since it's more than 6h of work now, means I get an 1h break. When my break began I walked out our store to get to the supermarket right next to us. It was a big one with smaller stores inside including a bakery. I don't know if this counts as mall, but I just say supermarket. Usually I just get in and grab water and bread, but since I have a little more time I decided to stroll around and look for, mostly, candies and other things I can waste my money on. I came across a very chaotic looking shelf, and since I wanted something from that shelf I tried my best to make it look normal again. That's when it happened. A very loud ahem was heard from behind me and I turned around, only to see a lady who was around my height and more on the chubby side. Like almost everyone here I moved to the side, thinking she wanted something from the shelf. "No, come here," she said, and I looked at her confused. "I need item I forgot." Right now, I don't think I have to mention that she was very rude. I just looked at her, shaking my head, and simply said, "Sorry, I don't know." I'm not a big talker, and when a stranger talks to me I tend to stutter and trip over my own words, so I tried to sound relaxed. I wanted to turn around and walk away, but the lady grabbed my arm. She was surprisingly strong. "You don't know? You work here? How can you not know where item is?" "Yep," she stared, yelling at me. That made me tear up a bit and I tried to free my arm, but it was no use. What I forgot to mention was I was wearing a tag from my store. It just simply said, "Store name, team, we will gladly help you out." My store where I work at and the supermarket store have completely different names obviously, and I pointed with my free hand at the tag. Excuse me, but I don't work here. I'm on my break and just wanted to get some SNA. I don't care. I need item now. I have kids in the car and things that needed to be in a fridge. The yelling attracted some other customers and they started to watch. That's where I lost all strength to keep myself from crying and the tears just rolled down my cheeks. Gladly a man around his 50 came over and tried to calm the lady down, but it was also no use. My ears turned off and I was now only focusing on to stop crying. It got louder and finally an employee of the supermarket came over and asked what was going on. I tried to explain, but my sobbing made it impossible to talk, and the lady finally let go of my arm, which was now red, and walked over to the employee. This girl was very rude to me. I just asked where item was and she told me to F*** off and flipped me off. I still don't know why people like those lie. You don't gain anything from this. The employee looked at me and asked if I'm okay. Technically I was, but I shook my head no, still sobbing and crying, which was very embarrassing. The man finally spoke up and told the employee what happened. Well, what he say and heard. Another employee come over and took me away, asked for my side of the story and tried to calm me down. My break was now already 10 minutes over. I just wanted to get out and go home. After some time I was now calm and tried to talk to the employee about stupid stuff to make myself laugh. While the lady was still yelling and was now demanding for a manager. I always thought things like this only existed in America, but I guess I was wrong. The manager came over and also asked what wrong. After that he went away. I assumed to check cameras, but I don't know. I looked at my watch and now I was 1 hour late from break. I looked at the door, being kinda paranoid that my co-workers might walk in and search for me, and they actually did. They saw me and asked what happened. First they were looking angry, but seeing me with red puffy eyes and an still angry lady next to the other employee, my co-worker finally figured out what happened, went back to our store. The manager came back. I'm sorry lady, but I have to ask you to leave. I just checked the camera and asked other people and it seemed like you started this fight. The lady tried to bark at the manager, but he continued. Those people told me how this fight started and I have to tell you this. I, the manager, can guarantee you that this girl, the manager pointed at me, and the at my tag, doesn't work here. She seems to work at the store next to us. I just nodded and he continued. The lady was now white instead of red and still tried to cause a scene. I got up and left my things in a basket and asked if I can leave now. The manager nodded while talking to the lady, so I walked out the store. I told my team leader what happened and got the rest of the day off. I couldn't concentrate after this and went to grab my things. Ready to leave, I heard sirens. I walks out and the next thing I saw was that the lady who yelled at me in the supermarket was now escorted out from the police. They actually took her with them. I smiled a bit and went home. The next day I went back to the supermarket and asked what happened. The lady became physical and punched the manager in the face. I saw him from the distance and he actually got a blue eye, and the police had to took her away. A friend of the lady came and had to pick up the kidder that were in the car of the lady. I hope you enjoyed my story, even if it wasn't that good, but I'm glad that I could tell this to someone who wasn't my mom. Edit. Thank you all for your kind words. And the awards. Love you all.